Hey everybody, this is the I Care About You podcast, and I'm Juliana J. And today we're going to talk about letting things that happen to you in life that are in the past shape your life today in this moment right now. It shapes your perspective, how you view things, everything basically. So there are so many times in life where we dwell on the things that didn't go right rather than the things that did go right. It can either be a bad experience, things we didn't execute well, maybe even mistakes we've made and we would have liked to have been better, or even daily occurrences that we've decided are bad or wrong, or whatever negative emotion we want to attach to it. Have you ever felt like something happened in your past that you just can't get over, and you think about it on kind of a daily basis almost, and it's so prevalent in your mind right there in the forefront that even though you're thinking about other things during your day, it's there in your mind, nagging you. For some reason, we dwell on the things that go wrong so much more than we dwell on the things that go right in our lives. We can even fixate on those things so much that they cloud the view of our daily lives. We stop seeing the positive around us, and we start believing that life is unhappy or undesirable. I could definitely say this has happened to me many times in my life. I admit that I spent years in this while I was in a job that I didn't really like, and subsequent job thereafter. In fact, I spent decades in a space looking for what was wrong and not spending much time at all on concentrating on what was going right for me. I let my job environment that was not happy cloud all the other aspects of my life. When I wasn't at work, I was just dreading going to work. I dreaded driving to work. I dreaded being at work. I dreaded talking to people at work. I dreaded doing my actual job. I dreaded seeing my toxic boss in the hallway. I could not appreciate being at home or enjoying time with family and friends simply because the dread of work was always there on my mind. It was overpowering. As a consequence, every little thing that didn't go right in life became really magnified. If someone cut me off in traffic, I didn't see that as someone else trying to get to work faster or having issues or not noticing me or making a mistake. I simply saw it as somebody who was against me and was disregarding me as a valuable human being. If someone said something that I could take the wrong way, I would give no grace to anyone. I was very literal. I would take it as a personal attack. If someone had constructive criticism for me, I just saw it as people attacking me. I never saw it as something that was valuable that I could use. My feeling about my challenging work environment became the reason to look at everything else through this negative kind of angry lens. When I wasn't at work, I was still allowing what was happening there to affect everything else, even if I was like on vacation or doing something fun. It got so bad that even when my shoe came untied or something like that, it was like the world is against me, not just my shoe came untied. I started obsessing about everything. I would wake up at 3 a.m. and worry about everything that had gone wrong the prior day or week or month or year or 10 years ago. I started thinking of all the negative things that have happened to me throughout my life and globbing it all together in this one reasoning as to why the world was against me, simply because I had this catalyst event of not having a good job. Even when I got another job after that, where I was away from the toxic boss, still I had that mindset about work, and I waited for it to become bad so that I could then bring everything that happened in my life that wasn't great into this big glob of stuff where I could say, see, look at that. That is why the world is against me, why I can't be successful, why I'm not happy, why all these other things are happening to me, because the universe is proving it to me with all these bad things that have happened to me in my life. And I'm putting bad in quotes here because I don't think anything is bad, really, but I'm talking about my perspective at the time, where I was putting everything into either bad or good categories. And there was nothing in between or no reasoning for any of it. It simply was If things weren't great for me, they were bad. It's easy to fall into this general negative perspective. Sometimes it's something that happens in life, like I was saying, just a toxic boss, just makes you bring up all these negative or old memories that aren't positive or affirming to you. It makes them more in the forefront, and you think about them more often, and you start using them as gauges in your life, like waking up at 3 a.m. to go over all the things you said that were wrong the day before, the week before, the year before, is just rehashing and reaffirming to yourself that there's something wrong with you, or the universe is out to get you, or something like that, which isn't true at all. But you start sort of dwelling on those things, those past things. And it could be something from like 40 years ago or 50 years ago, or it could be something that happened to you that you've let become part of your life and who you are on the daily basis, all the time. That's who you are. You're this 5-year-old person that something terrible happened to, and that's shaped your perspective on the world. Everyone's out to get you. The sidewalk's out to get you because you tripped. You're mad at everyone immediately. You always think everyone's out to get you. Even when you're in a happy moment, you're very sarcastic or in a negative way, or things like that. It's easy to fall into. How do you know you have this overall negative perspective in life? How do you know this has happened to you? Because a lot of times you feel like it's so real. Life is against me is so real that that's the reality and that's the truth. And again, I want to harken back to past podcasts where I talked about the truth in your mind. What you think of as the truth is simply a thought that you have. It's just a thought. It's not a truth. You can change that dialogue about who you are, that narrative, that story you have at any time. Sometimes it's hard to let go of things that have happened into your life, even if they are negative, because you have allowed them to define you so deeply that letting go of something negative is, in a sense, letting go of yourself, of some part of who you are. So it's good to set yourself up before you let go into what is working, what is positive, what is good about your life, what is what you want, to really do some work on these positive things about your life before you let go of the negative things, so that when you let go of that negative defining quality of who you are within yourself, you can replace it with something positive. So how do you know? How do you know you've let these negative things or negative impressions or things that happen in your life that aren't so great really start to cloud your here and now? Do you let small things have a big negative impact? Such, if you were to trip while you were walking to your house after a long day, would you curse the sidewalk? Would you feel like it was trying to trip you? Or would you laugh it off? Or maybe not even do anything, just walk on and it's insignificant? Would you let these small things in life really become so much bigger? Someone cuts you off on your way to work. Do you see that as, well, that could be a whole host of things, reasons why that happened? That person's having a bad day, that person's in a rush, they made a mistake driving, whatever the case may be. You're driving at an inconsistent speed and they couldn't gauge it well, whatever it might be. Or do you just take it as someone's against you, like this person's out to get you? Do you take all these small things in life and make them much bigger into a narrative that you can then add to this negative narrative you have about yourself within who you are? Have you lost the capacity to imagine a different narrative about anything that happens, like tripping on the sidewalk? Have you lost the ability to think immediately you weren't picking your feet up while you were walking, or maybe you're just so tired you're dragging today, or looking at the sidewalk and going like, wow, do I need to do something here? Is this getting too bad and I have to fix it? Instead, you've already determined what the negative narrative is, and you don't have any possibilities anymore of thinking outside and what other things could be at play here. Do you immediately think of things and how they will not turn out in your favor? For example, if you have to go to the dentist, do you immediately think you're going to get bad news when you go there? You have to get something repaired. Do you immediately assume the worst? The repair person's going to rip you off, and are you going to have to buy a new thing, which is going to cost 4 times more? Even if you have evidence to prove otherwise, you still hold on to this idea that a negative thing is going to happen whenever you approach anything. For example, if you've been to the dentist millions of times and nothing's ever happened, there's never been a catastrophe, but yet every time you go to the dentist, you think the worst thing's going to happen. You've lost the ability to even look at the reality you live in as proof that not everything is bad and out to get you. Instead, you just cling to that model of, the worst thing's going to happen every single time, even though you don't have any proof of that. Is your points of conversation or your humor tinged with negative viewpoints, opinions, and judgments? Like when you're in a social setting, is most of what you say kind of negative, against people, judgmental? Is all of your humor kind of negative, maybe shock factor, things like that? If this is true, then chances are you have a negative outlook in life. When you immediately think of something, anything new, you immediately think of the negatives. Like, oh, I'm going to go on vacation. I'll probably lose my luggage. It'll probably be really tiring. I have to go somewhere where I don't speak the language, and so I'm going to be really lost, and people are going to take advantage of me, et cetera, rather than like, woohoo, I'm going on vacation. Yeah. Are you letting all these negative or not positive what ifs cloud everything that you do? We often think that negative perspective on life is not a choice, like life is telling us that it's negative, but it's really just that you're deciding it's negative and you're deciding to dwell on those things. It is just something that you are choosing to do. And oftentimes we think it's just something we were born with, or we blame things like no one cares about me. I never catch a break. We let outside source take the blame. Maybe we blame our childhood or upbringing or where we grew up or a lack of opportunity or even the people we grew up with. While these factors may most certainly be things that have challenged you or made certain tasks harder, they in themselves are not the reason the world is the way it is. Why the world is the way it is because you're looking at it through that negative lens. It is your perspective on those things and others that's causing your mindset. In a sense, how you decide to view things and what has happened to you affect how you view future things that will happen to you. You just kind of hearken back to this negative viewpoint you have rather than looking at something new as something new with all possibilities. Your views on your past define your future even before it's happened. So let me say that again. Your views on your past define your future before anything's even happened. That's how powerful these negative past views are. Living in the past can cause negative views. If you are living in how things used to be rather than how things are now, you are comparing your current life to this romanticized version of the past, where you did have obstacles and situations happening, but you've let go of those and you're using this romanticized version of the past of how things used to be to talk crap about how things are now and have a negative perspective on how things are now. You lose out on realizing that perhaps the now offers you many wonderful things that you simply aren't noticing. Living in the past can alter your viewpoint of new opportunities, making you feel negatively toward them simply because they aren't part of a past experience that you have. You're really losing the perspective that there are so many wonderful things out there in your day in every moment, but you're just choosing not to notice that or not to dwell on that. How do you change your negative perspective? By changing your view of the past, by taking a moment to redefine the events through a new lens, to let go of some things that are traumatic in your life that are no longer defining you. You no longer have to be defined by those things. Those things can happen to you, and that can be the end of the story. This thing happened to me. I learned some wonderful tools or things as a consequence of this. I now understand people on a different level, and I can have more compassion for others when they're in the same space I was in at one time. You can do this by writing down some of the things that are negative in your life that you feel are really defining you. For me, it would be being sexually harassed as a child. I don't have to be defined as the victim there and that all people are going to take advantage of me in that way. Instead, I can define that as I am a more compassionate human being as a consequence. I understand suffering. I understand that type of fear a little bit more. I understand what it's like to be going through that. I understand what it's like to feel alone. I don't have to feel like that experience really shaped this negative viewpoint of myself. It takes a lot of work. That is something unto itself you really should be working with a professional on and really working to define. But if you've done a lot of that work, you can start fleshing that out through a new lens. Yes, this happened to me. It was horrible. But what are some positive takeaways I can have from this? And every experience has positive takeaways or lessons or something, even no matter how horrible it was. You can still take something away from it that you can use in a way to change the lives of others or change the life of yourself or change a viewpoint, whatever it might be. Write down those things. Notice when you have a negative belief about something. If you're driving in the car and you get mad, you have road rage, why? What is the belief you have about the situation that occurred that gave you this rage? Is there another scenario there that you might be able to consider? And just start training yourself to think about other scenarios that might be at play. And when something does truly happen to you that is not positive, examine it outside of yourself. I've done a lot of podcasts on this, examining it, a situation outside of yourself, like your bad behavior. But at this, you can also do it for other people's bad behavior. Take it outside of yourself and examine it. What is this? This is somebody being extremely mean to me. What can I learn from this? What can I take on with me? And is this person worth being in relationship with? Or do I need to let that person go? Are people like that go? Am I attracting these types of people in my life? Why am I doing that? Just using the experience as a tool outside of yourself to learn something about yourself and others and how you want to be in the world. Just those things in itself, noticing when you have a negative perspective and imagining what other perspective you might be able to have, stopping yourself from negative joking and maybe shifting it into something more positive, having gratitude, keeping a gratitude journal, telling people, thank you for helping me. Thank you for letting me cut you in line. Thank you for stepping out of my way when I was walking my dog. Just little points of gratitude and thanking yourself for working on this, for being present enough to notice it and want to change, being grateful, being vulnerable with yourself so that you can realize these things that lie within you that need some attention and some help. You can journal about it, you can meditate about it, you can just think about it in the moment when it happens. Pick a small thing you can do to change your perspective on this larger thing. And those are a few of the small things that you can do. You can also work on things like smiling, using positive affirmations. Smiling is very powerful. Just maybe even set a timer if you're having a hard time smiling. Some people really do. And every 2 hours, my timer goes off and I smile for a minute. I just do that, even if I'm alone by myself. I just do that. I just learned to do that. Now I'm going to walk down the street and I'm going to make eye contact with people and I'm going to smile at them before I look away. And I'm going to get in the habit of doing that. I'm going to be thankful for people. Whether silently or verbally or whatever it might be, I'm going to have gratitude all the time for everything. I'm going to give myself grace for things that I've done in my past that I'm not proud of. I'm going to shift that perspective into a learning perspective. And if I need to go say I'm sorry to somebody, I'm going to do that in some way, shape, or form. But I'm also going to use everything that happened in my life as a lesson rather than something that defines me. Something bad could have happened to you, but you can define it as either I'm a victim or this thing happened to me, but I learned how to be a more beautiful person because I gained more compassion or empathy or understanding. Change the narrative about those things and Spend time at the end of the day, every day, acknowledging out loud or in a journal or wherever all the great things that happened to you that day, even if they're really small. Wow, I got a parking spot close to the entrance of work. I got the parking spot I like. I got a parking spot in the shade. I was able to go for a walk. Somebody said hi to me. I got a nice text. The flowers are blooming outside. I love the rain today. Whatever it might be, just take a moment to acknowledge wonderful things happening to you as well. And this is such a huge topic. We really need to talk more about it, but I don't want it to be overwhelming, so we'll keep coming back to this. But for now, find gratitude. Redefine things in your life. Take them out of who you are as a person and examine them as just a thing that happened. Be thankful, grateful, be kind. Realize different perspectives when something happens to you that you would normally be mad at. Take a step back and go, is there another way to explain this? Give yourself some grace. So that's all I have for you today. Take good care, my friends. I love you and I care about you, and I'll see you in the next one, and we'll continue this conversation.